The Galactic Council chamber was a cathedral of stars. Massive glass-like panels stretched overhead, revealing a swirling vista of nebulae and distant suns. Delegates from 100 worlds sat poised in their seats, clad in garb that ranged from sleek exosuits to flowing robes woven with bioluminescent threads. The room hummed with a tense expectancy. Yet despite the grandeur and formality, none here could foresee the shattering of an alliance that had stood for centuries. Admiral Leona Rourke's quarters on Luna Station were stark in comparison. The steel walls and glowing hollow displays reflected the grim determination in her eyes. Outside, Earth's blue and green orb hung suspended in the black, scarred but proud. For a decade, humanity had climbed the ranks of the Galactic Council, their influence growing steadily with every diplomatic victory and technological breakthrough. They had brokered peace treaties, rebuilt war-torn colonies, and even shared advanced terraforming tech. Humanity was no longer a fledgling race. They were a rising superpower. Tonight, however, everything changed. Leona's comm unit buzzed sharply. An encrypted message filtered through, a channel only trusted high command personnel could access. She pressed a finger to the panel, activating the transmission. The dimmed room flickered with a shadowy face. Counselor Vrex, a reptilian delegate with cold, calculating eyes. "The vote has concluded, Admiral," the voice said, clipped and emotionless. "The Council has decided. Earth is no longer welcome. Effective immediately, your species is expelled," Leona's heart thundered. "On what grounds?" "You pose a threat to the balance," Vrex replied. "Your influence is unchecked. Your military advances disturb the peace. This is a necessary measure for the safety of all Council members." Before she could respond, the feed cut out, her fingers clenched into fists. "A threat?" she muttered. "We brought peace. We saved them from annihilation." The screen blinked again, alerts flashing red across her displays. An emergency broadcast from the outer colonies. Titan Base is under attack. Council fleets have initiated a containment operation. Her stomach dropped. This was no accident or misunderstanding. This was war. The room shook faintly as distant explosions rippled through the upper atmosphere. Luna Station's defense arrays lit up, targeting unidentified vessels rapidly closing in from beyond the asteroid belt. The Council's betrayal had gone beyond political exile. It was a calculated strike aimed at humanity's heart. Leona activated the emergency command console. "All stations, battle readiness code Omega. Prepare for immediate countermeasures." Her voice carried the weight of the entire human race. Outside the viewport, distant colonies were ablaze. Orbital habitats ruptured under bombardment. The once proud Martian terraforming domes collapsed, the air vents freezing in silent death. Earth was under siege. Down on the planet's surface, billions looked up at the blood-red glow of war in the sky. The streets of New Shanghai were flooded with frightened citizens, but also with soldiers, young men and women who had trained for decades, ready to defend their home. Leona's voice echoed across all communications channels. "This is Admiral Leona Rourke of the United Earth Defense Command. The Galactic Council has betrayed us. They have declared war, but Earth will not fall. We will fight, we will survive, and we will make them regret this day." In the command bridge below, her officers scrambled to coordinate the defensive fleet. Warships, once symbols of peacekeeping, hummed to life, power coursing through their plasma conduits. Long dormant dreadnoughts turned from mere deterrents into deadly weapons. Across the solar system, Earth's allies rallied. The colonies on Mars, Ganymede, and Titan shifted from commercial hubs to military strongholds overnight. Engineers welded, hull reinforcements, technicians recalibrated targeting systems, and pilots ran drills that felt like seconds from reality. Yet, in the dark halls of the Galactic Council, the decision-makers watched with detached coldness. Counselor Vrex's cold voice echoed in Leona's mind. "You will be contained." But the human spirit would not be contained. As news of the attack spread, a ripple of shock and anger surged through humanity. Social media exploded with images of burning habitats and calls for vengeance. Across Earth's continents, people, Scientists, factory workers, pilots, set aside daily lives to answer a call larger than themselves. In her quarters, Leona stood before a hollow projection of the galaxy. Red dots flickered, sites of council attacks, and green dots marked surviving human outposts. It was a map of devastation and a blueprint for retaliation. Her eyes narrowed. They think we will surrender, she thought. They have no idea what they have unleashed. From deep within the orbiting shipyards, construction of the Vengeance fleet began in earnest. Hundreds of ships, sleek, deadly, and powered by human ingenuity, rose from dry docks. AI-assisted assembly lines worked day and night, turning raw materials into instruments of retribution. Meanwhile, intelligence teams decrypted more council communications, revealing hidden alliances and bribes that had sealed humanity's fate. The betrayal was not just political, it was personal, systematic, and meant to break humanity once and for all. Leona knew one truth above all. This war was not just about survival. It was about proving humanity's place among the stars, and Earth would answer with fire. As Luna Station's defense guns flared to life, blasting down the first wave of council fighters, Leona's voice was calm but resolute over the comms. Prepare for counterattack. The council has made its choice. So have we. The stars outside the window burned brighter, not with distant suns, but with the furious light of a species betrayed, ready to strike back. The fires that consumed Titan Base had not just scorched steel and glass, they had ignited a fury that spread across the solar system like wildfire. Admiral Leona Rourke stood on the bridge of the USCSS Valor, the flagship of the United Earth Defense Command, staring at the live feed of the devastation. The once vibrant mining and research colony was now a molten crater, fragments of destroyed habitats drifting through the void like ghost ships. Casualty estimates are rising, the tactical officer reported grimly. Most of the outer colonies have suffered similar attacks. Communications are spotty at best. Leona's jaw tightened. They wanted to cripple our reach beyond Earth, to isolate us. She turned to her officers, eyes blazing. They think by breaking the colonies, they break us. But they're wrong. Earth is no longer just a planet. We're a force forged in fire. Around the solar system, humanity's survivors mobilized with brutal efficiency. In orbit, shipyards that had been silent for decades roared to life, their automated arms swinging into motion. On Mars, engineers worked feverishly to repair damaged railguns and boost planetary defenses. The once quiet factories on Ganymede transformed into assembly lines pumping out drones, missile pods, and plasma cannons. In subterranean bunkers beneath the ruins of New Tokyo, scientists cracked open forgotten schematics of Earth's secret weapons programs. Their predecessors had built these to deter a galactic war that no one wanted. Massive dreadnoughts, autonomous combat AI, and a fleet capable of turning back any invasion. Now those deterrents became humanity's weapons of vengeance. Leona convened a war council aboard Luna Station, bringing together military strategists, scientists, and diplomats who had survived the initial shock. The question was no longer if they would fight back, but how. We will not be the victims anymore, she declared. We will be the storm. Her voice echoed through the chamber, igniting resolve. Plans unfolded swiftly. Build a fleet not just for defense, but for retribution. Ships designed to strike deep into council space and shatter their infrastructure before they could muster a full assault. Leona's gaze hardened. They took our colonies. They branded us criminals. Now we'll show them what happens when you betray humanity. Meanwhile, the council worlds were far from united. The secret vote to expel humanity, once thought a necessary evil, had fractured many of the member races. Rumors spread in the darker corners of the galaxy, whispers that the vote had been manipulated by bribery and coercion. On the verdant homeworld of the Vrothi, a reptilian race known for their honor, Chancellor Turvak called a closed-door session. We were pressured into the vote, he admitted to his council. But our silence has blood on our hands. We must seek reconciliation with Earth before the flames consume us all. But not all were so conciliatory. On the harsh desert world of Silix Prime, General Khazar of the extremist faction barked orders to mobilize. The humans will pay for their arrogance. We will crush their fleets, burn their worlds, and wipe their influence from the stars. The galaxy was preparing for war. Back in Earth's orbit, the Valkyrie dreadnoughts took shape. Sleek, massive warships, bristling with cutting-edge weaponry, and armored to withstand storms of plasma and kinetic fire. The AI core, named Athena, was designed not only to assist but to anticipate enemy tactics with ruthless efficiency. On Mars, the once peaceful terraforming colonies transformed into military fortresses. Launch bays hummed with activity as fighter squadrons completed their final drills, their pilots steeling themselves for the coming battle. Leona's own quarters were sparse but efficient. The wall-length viewport offered a haunting view of Earth's blue-green marble, marred by the scars of conflict. Her mind raced, calculating the odds, the risks. Admiral, her second-in-command, Commander Rhea Dallin, interrupted her thoughts. We've decrypted new transmissions. The Council is sending reinforcements to the outer colonies. They plan a second strike. Leona nodded grimly. Then we strike first. Days later, the Vengeance Fleet launched its maiden operation, AI surgical strike on a vital Council supply depot in the Orcs sector. The assault was swift and precise. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space, detonating with a deadly elegance that left civilian stations untouched but shattered military outposts and communication hubs. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. News. Feeds broadcasted Admiral Rourke's message across the stars. The Council betrayed us. They chose war. We choose justice. This is not conquest. It is reckoning. In response, fractures within the Council deepened. Some species, fearful and ashamed, sent envoys to Earth requesting dialogue. Others hardened their resolve, preparing for total war. Leona's intelligence officers uncovered chilling evidence. Records showing how the vote against humanity had been bought and manipulated by powerful factions fearing human progress. We're not just fighting for survival, Leona told her command. We're fighting to expose the truth, to shatter lies, to reclaim our honor. On Earth, as families mourned lost loved ones, a new unity emerged. Cities transformed into rallying points for recruitment and innovation. Schools shifted curricula overnight, focusing on technology, strategy, and resilience. In underground bunkers beneath the ruins of old capitals, engineers worked on prototype weapons that harnessed gravity, exotic matter, and quantum entanglement. The Vengeance Fleet would not just be powerful, it would be unmatched. Amidst the rebuilding, Leona found a rare moment of solitude, standing on the observation deck of Luna Station. The stars seemed colder now, distant and indifferent. But she knew this cold void was about to burn. Earth's answer was not surrender. It was fury, sharpened by betrayal and tempered in loss. The ashes of humanity's colonies had forged something stronger, a steel will to fight back. The war for humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun. The cold silence of space was shattered by the sudden flare of plasma bolts and the shuddering roar of engines. In the Orcs sector, deep within Council territory, the Vengeance Fleet had arrived. From the command bridge of the USCSS Valor, Admiral Leona Rourke surveyed the tactical holomap, watching as the fleet slipped through the dark corridors of the sector with surgical precision. The ships, though smaller in number than the sprawling Council armada, moved like a deadly predator, silent, efficient, and utterly unrelenting. Target locked on the supply hub at Orcs Prime, reported Tactical Officer Chen, his fingers dancing over the console. No civilian traffic detected in the zone. Ready to commence strike in T-2 minutes. Leona nodded. This is not a war of destruction. It's a war of justice. We strike their military assets, their infrastructure. Civilians are collateral damage only if they choose to stand with their betrayers. The Valkyrie dreadnoughts bristled with plasma turrets and kinetic railguns, their hulls gleaming like blades. Smaller, faster Cerberus assault carriers launched, swarms of autonomous drones programmed to disable enemy fighters with non-lethal EMP pulses. Earth's engineers had designed this fleet to incapacitate, To cripple, not to slaughter. Proceed, Leona commanded. A silent volley of plasma torpedoes burst forth, streaking across the void. Explosions bloomed in the orbit of Eric's primes. Supply station as communications arrays and missile factories were shredded. Council patrol ships scrambled, but the Vengeance fleet had anticipated every move, electronically jamming sensors and cutting off reinforcements. On the Council side, alarms blared. The sector commander, a tall humanoid with pale angular features named Lord Raxil, paced his command room. Earth's fleet? Impossible. They should be cornered, broken. His subordinates exchanged worried glances. Their strike is surgical, one admitted. No civilian casualties, but their precision is terrifying. Lord Raxil growled. Send the reinforcements, bring them down before this becomes a full-scale invasion. But it was too late. As the supply hub fell silent, the Vengeance fleet disengaged, retreating before the Council could regroup. On the Valor, the bridge erupted in cheers. Leona allowed herself a brief, grim smile. This is just the beginning, she said. Send the broadcast. The message echoed across the galactic networks. To the Galactic Council and all who hear, the betrayal of humanity was a crime against peace and justice. We do not seek conquest. We seek reckoning. The Vengeance fleet will bring down the walls of deception and corruption. This is our declaration. The stars belong to no council that betrays its members. Across countless worlds, the broadcast spread like wildfire. On Vrothy Prime, Chancellor Turvak's council chambers filled with murmurs of support and fear. The humans are more than we imagined, he whispered. Their resolve is iron. But on Silex Prime, General Khazar seethed with rage. This is war. Prepare the legions. We will crush Earth's rebellion before it spreads. Back on Earth, the response was electric. Citizens crowded public squares, cheering and waving banners emblazoned with the Vengeance fleet insignia. A phoenix rising from a shattered star. Leona's voice rang out on every channel. We strike not because we love war, but because we love peace. We fight because the Council chose treachery over diplomacy. Today we reclaim our honor. Scientists unveiled new technologies born from desperation. Drones capable of autonomous repair, plasma cannons that could pierce Council shields, and AI-driven strategies that outmatched centuries-old doctrines. The fleet's success also ignited fierce debates within the Council. Some species argued for immediate peace talks, fearing total collapse. Others, drunk on pride and vengeance, pushed for brutal retaliation. Meanwhile, Earth's intelligence services intercepted Council communications revealing hidden corruption. Bribes, coercion, and even assassination plots that had influenced the vote against humanity. Leona's council pored over these files. This war is not just about survival, she told her commanders. It is about exposing the rot at the heart of the council. We fight not just with weapons, but with truth. In the quiet moments between battles, Leona allowed herself a rare reflection. On the observation deck of the Valor, she stared into the endless black, dotted with distant stars. Are we becoming what we once feared? Her second-in-command, Commander Rhea Dalen, asked quietly. Leona met her gaze. No. We are reclaiming what was stolen. Justice is not vengeance, it is balance. We fight not to dominate, but to restore. A sudden alert shattered the calm. Incoming Council fleet, Chen announced. They're closing fast. Leona's hand tightened on the console. Battle stations, let them come. The next engagement would decide more than a sector. It would define humanity's fate in the galaxy. As the Vengeance fleet prepared to face overwhelming odds, every officer knew one truth. This was not the end of the war. It was the spark that would light a galaxy-wide firestorm, and Earth would not be the one to burn. The halls of the Galactic Council chambers, once a symbol of unity and peace, now echoed with harsh whispers and angry debates. The betrayal of humanity had left scars far deeper than anyone anticipated. The Council was no longer a monolith. It was fracturing, its fragile alliances cracking under the pressure of war and suspicion. Councillor Vreck sat in his chamber, his reptilian features tight with frustration. The unexpected strike on the Orcs sector had humiliated the Council's military prestige. More troubling, it had exposed uncomfortable truths. Across the galaxy, news of corruption within the Council's highest ranks spread like wildfire. Leaked documents smuggled by human intelligence revealed that the vote to expel humanity had been heavily influenced by bribery and threats. Several council members were implicated in a shadow network that feared humanity's rapid rise in technological advancements. Vrex's holoscreen blinked with incoming messages, some desperate calls for peace, others sharp demands for escalation. This was supposed to be a warning, he muttered, not an all-out war. On Vrothi Prime, Chancellor Tirvak convened an emergency session of the Council's diplomatic corps. The Vrothi people were known for their honor and fairness, and many in their ranks had long opposed the vote to betray Earth. We cannot continue down this path, Tirvak stated firmly. The humans have been wronged, and their retaliation is justified. I propose we open channels of communication immediately, before this spiral of violence consumes us all. His proposal met fierce resistance. On Silex Prime, General Khazar's voice thundered over comm transmissions. They are aggressors and traitors. They deserve nothing but annihilation. If we show weakness, every member race will lose control. Across the Council, species were divided, some yearning for peace, others thirsting for blood. The internal schism threatened to dissolve centuries of fragile cooperation. Back on Earth, Admiral Leona Rourke monitored the Council's unraveling with cautious optimism. Divide and conquer, she said to her closest advisors. Their disunity is our advantage, but we must move carefully. One wrong step and we face an overwhelming retaliation. Her intelligence teams uncovered more disturbing news. An extremist faction within the Council, secretly funded and armed, was preparing a devastating counterattack. Their goal was not negotiation, but total destruction of humanity's military and colonies. Annihilation, Leona whispered grimly. They want to wipe us from the stars. Meanwhile, in the depths of Alcar Prime, the Council's capital, the extremist faction made their move. Hidden within the sprawling underground complexes, scientists worked feverishly on a weapon of unprecedented power. A device capable of releasing catastrophic energy pulses that could obliterate entire star systems. The weapon's existence was a closely guarded secret, known only to the faction's highest leaders. If unleashed, it would force humanity's surrender, or annihilation. Leona's spies had detected unusual energy readings from Alcar Prime, but lacked concrete evidence. Time was running out. In orbit around Earth, the Vengeance fleet remained vigilant. Supplies flowed in from hastily fortified colonies. Pilots trained relentlessly, aware that the next battle could decide the fate of the solar system. On Luna Station, Leona convened her commanders. We must prepare for both diplomacy and war, she said. Reach out to the Council members seeking peace. But our fleet will not stand down. If the extremists strike, we strike first. Her orders were clear. Intelligence operations intensified. Saboteurs infiltrated Council outposts. Every secret weapon, every political fracture became a target as the galaxy watched. A fragile envoy arrived from the Vrothi. Their ambassador, a tall, silver-scaled diplomat named Salar, carried a message of tentative hope. We wish to open a dialogue, Salar announced at a press conference on Luna Station. The path of war benefits no one. The Galactic Council must face its mistakes and rebuild trust. The announcement sparked celebration on Earth and relief among many Council races. Yet, even as Salar spoke, intelligence reports confirmed the extremist faction's weapon was nearing completion. The shadow of annihilation loomed large. In a rare moment of solitude, Leona stood on Luna's observation deck staring at the distant stars. The war had already claimed countless lives, but the greatest challenge was yet to come. Is this what we were born for? She wondered aloud. To be betrayed, hunted, and forced to fight for our right to exist? Commander Rhea Dalen joined her silently. We were born to survive, she said softly, to stand when others fall, To show the galaxy that humanity will not be erased. Leona nodded, steeling herself. The coming days would test not just her fleet's strength but the very soul of humanity. Back on Alcar Prime, deep within the secret labs, the weapon hummed with ominous power. The extremist leaders prepared to unleash it, believing that destruction was the only path to victory. But they underestimated the will of a betrayed species. The war was no longer just about territory or power. It was a battle for truth, justice, and survival, and the fractures within the Council would soon become the fault lines that shattered their empire. The darkness between stars was no longer a void of silence but a battlefield of secrets and silent skirmishes. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of Alcar Prime, the Council's capital, the extremist faction moved like shadows, hidden, deadly, and relentless. Their apocalyptic weapon hummed quietly, a promise of annihilation that could erase entire solar systems in a single pulse. But before its power could be unleashed, they needed a key. The activation codes, locked away in the highest Council security vaults. Leona Rourke's intelligence network had been relentless. Saboteurs embedded in Council bureaucracy, rogue hackers in distant colonies, and sympathetic insiders risked everything to infiltrate the Council's secret heart. But the extremist faction was clever, their counterintelligence sophisticated. The realize balance of this covert war would decide the fate of millions. On Luna Station, in a dimly lit operations room, Leona watched as the digital battle unfolded. Streams of encrypted data fought against countermeasures, firewalls flared, and silent alarms pulsed in response. "Commander Dalen, status on the infiltration team?" Leona asked sharply. Dalen's eyes were fixed on her terminal. "There, inside the vault perimeter. We've breached the outer layers, but the inner security grid is unlike anything we've seen. The extremist faction anticipated this attack. It's a fortress." Leona's jaw clenched. "We can't afford failure. Not now." Meanwhile, the Council's extremist leaders gathered in a chamber beneath Alcar Prime's glittering cityscape. Councillor Vreck stood among them, his eyes cold and merciless. "Humanity's defiance will end here," he hissed. "The weapon will remind them that the Council holds the power of life and death." But not all were as certain. A dissenting voice rose. Councillor Illyra, a member of a neutral race with a keen sense of justice. "Destroying entire systems will not bring peace. It will only sow chaos and rebellion. If we lose our morality, what separates us from the barbarians we claim to oppose?" Vreck sneered. "Morality is a luxury we cannot afford. Only power ensures survival." The faction fractured further, some eager to wield destruction, others desperate to preserve what was left of the Council's honor. Back on Earth, the mood was grim but resolute. News of the extremist weapon had galvanized the population. Scientists raced to develop countermeasures while engineers retooled ships with enhanced shields and faster response systems. In a makeshift war room beneath the ruins of New Cairo, Leona met with her top advisors. "We need to strike the extremists before they can activate that weapon," she said. "But direct assault on Alcar Prime is suicide. We have to cripple their infrastructure, communications, supply chains, key leaders." One strategist, a grizzled veteran named Major Tarek, nodded. "We have assets in the outer sectors loyal to Earth. We can ignite rebellions within the Council, force them to fight on multiple fronts." Leona smiled grimly. "Good. Divide their attention. We hit fast, hit hard, and make them question if the Council is worth following." Meanwhile, the infiltration team on Alcar Prime reached the final security layer. It was a digital labyrinth of shifting codes and biometric locks. One wrong move could trigger an alarm that would doom them. In the dim light of the vault, Lieutenant Mara Chen focused on the console, sweat beading on her forehead. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds." Suddenly, the chamber doors hissed shut. Red lights bathed the room. Alarms blared. "They knew we were coming," Mara whispered. Outside, elite Council security forces mobilized swiftly. Leona received the breach alert and clenched her fists. "Get extraction teams ready. We're not leaving anyone behind. The battle for Alcar Prime was no longer covert. It was becoming a desperate fight for survival. Across the galaxy, the fractures within the Council deepened. Several member worlds quietly began defecting, sending aid and intelligence to Earth. The extremist faction's iron grip was loosening, but the extremists had one final card to play. From the shadows, a fleet of heavily armed warships emerged, from cloaked positions near the outer rim of Council space. Their target, Earth's fledgling colonies on Titan and Mars. Leona's fleet scrambled to respond. In the vacuum of space near Mars, the first clashes erupted. Plasma fire lanced between sleek human fighters and the Council's heavily armed cruisers. The air was thick with tension as each side fought not just for survival but for the future of their people. On the Valor's bridge, Leona's voice was steady. Hold formation. Protect the colonies. We cannot lose the outer rim. As fighters engaged, a sudden explosion rocked the Valor. Enemy missiles had found a gap in the defenses. Damage to port shield, reported the engineering officer. Diverting power to shields now. Leona's grip on the console tightened. We fight to the last star. Back on Luna Station, the war room buzzed with activity. News of the battle was broadcast to billions on Earth. Faces flickered on screens. Pilots, engineers, families, united in the shared crucible of war. Despite the carnage, hope burned brighter than ever. As the battle for the outer colonies raged, Leona knew the war's darkest hour was still ahead. The extremist weapon loomed, a threat, hanging over every star and every life. But humanity had tasted fire and fire-forged steel. The shadows of war would not break them. They would rise. The war had reached a boiling point. The battle near Mars left the Vengeance fleet battered but unbroken. Yet Admiral Leona Rourke knew the fiercest storm was yet to come. On Luna Station, the fleet's nerve center, Leona stood before a panoramic viewport. Beyond the station, Earth's battered colonies orbited in tenuous orbit, fragile jewels on the brink of annihilation. Commander Rhea Dalen approached quietly. The extremists are mobilizing their weapon. Our sources estimate activation within days, maybe hours. Leona's eyes hardened. We don't have time to wait. We strike at their heart, Alcar Prime. The plan was audacious. A coordinated assault on the Council's capital world, aimed to disrupt the extremist faction's weapon and to force the fractured Council into a desperate ceasefire. Leona's Council approved the mission, fully aware that it could be a suicide. Run. The fleet readied itself in silence. Every pilot, engineer, and soldier knew the stakes. Fail, and humanity would be snuffed out. Succeed, and the war could be ended in a single, decisive blow. In the depths of Alcar Prime, Counselor Vrex paced nervously. The weapon hummed ominously, its energy coils glowing with apocalyptic power. His trusted lieutenant, a merciless tactician named Grell, approached. The humans are coming. Our spies detected their fleet exiting warp near the outer rim, Vrex snarled. Then we finish this now. Activate the weapon. Leona watched the tactical map as the Vengeance fleet emerged from warp near Alcar Prime. The Council's defensive grid was formidable, a web of satellites, mines, and interceptors designed to pulverize invaders. But humanity's engineers had a secret weapon, a swarm of advanced stealth drones capable of disabling the Council's defense nodes with surgical precision. Deploy the drones, Leona ordered. Let the shadows do their work. The silent drones slipped through the Council's sensor nets like ghosts. One by one, defense satellites went dark, mines deactivated, and communication jammers fell silent. Defenses compromised. Tactical Officer Chen reported breathlessly. We have a window. The Valkyrie dreadnought surged forward, shields blazing, weapons primed. The battle above Alcar Prime erupted with thunderous intensity. Energy blasts tore through the void, hulls groaned under fire, and fighters engaged. In deadly dogfights, Leona's ship, the Valor, led the charge, weaving through flak and plasma to deliver a devastating salvo aimed at the weapon's energy core. Inside the weapon's chamber, a team of elite human operatives, led by Lieutenant Mara Chen, infiltrated the complex. Their mission: sabotage. "We're running out of time," Mara whispered as she planted explosive charges on the core's cooling system. Suddenly, alarms blared. The extremist faction's guards swarmed in. "Hold your ground," Mara ordered. A fierce firefight broke out. Bullets ricocheted and plasma bolts scorched walls. The operatives fought with desperate resolve, buying precious minutes for the charges to arm. Back on the Valor, Leona received a status update. "Charges armed?" Mara's voice crackled over the comms, breathless but resolute. "Affirmative. Evacuating now." The Valor pivoted to cover their retreat as the operatives scrambled to extraction points. Suddenly, a massive shockwave rippled through space. The weapon's core exploded, sending a blinding pulse outward. Nearby council ships were battered, their systems flickering under the onslaught. The extremist fleet faltered, thrown into chaos. Leona seized the moment. "Full assault. Push them back." Counselor Vrex, witnessing the destruction of his ultimate weapon, realized the tide had turned. "This war is lost," he growled, furious and defeated. Across the council worlds, the extremist faction's grip weakened. Factions once divided began to reconsider their loyalties. On Luna Station, news of the victory spread quickly. Humanity erupted in cheers, but Leona remained guarded. "The war isn't over," she warned. "But we've shown the galaxy our strength and resolve." In the aftermath, peace talks were tentatively proposed. The council's fractures ran deep, but a glimmer of hope emerged from the ashes. Leona met with Chancellor Tirvac and Ambassador Selar in a historic summit aboard Luna Station. "We may never forget the betrayal," Tirvac said solemnly. "But we can choose a future where peace is more than a dream." Leona nodded. "Earth will stand ready, but we will never allow betrayal again." As the summit concluded, Leona looked out over the Earth below. A world scarred but unbroken. The tides of fate had turned, but the future was still unwritten. The war had forged a new humanity, stronger, united, and ready to claim its rightful place among the stars. The summit on Luna Station was unlike any gathering in galactic history. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, their faces marked by war's scars, but also by a fragile hope. The Galactic Council, fractured and bloodied, sought to piece together a future with humanity, not as a conquered vassal, but as an equal partner. Admiral Leona Rourke stood at the center of the negotiations, flanked by Chancellor Tirvac of the Year, Frothy, and Ambassador Selar. Their voices echoed through the vast hall, carrying a message of tentative reconciliation. But beneath the veneer of diplomacy, tensions simmered. Counselor Vrex's extremist faction had been routed, but its embers still burned dangerously. Several council worlds remained loyal to the old order, skeptical, angry, and ready to reignite the flames of war. Leona sensed the storm brewing. "We must be vigilant," she told her commanders. "Not everyone wants peace." Her instincts proved right. Days after the summit's opening, an assassination attempt rocked Luna Station. A high-ranking diplomat was found dead, poisoned during a private meeting. Panic spread, fingers were pointed, trust shattered. Leona ordered immediate lockdowns and began a covert investigation. The assassin had left behind traces, encrypted, transmissions that led to a shadow network of insurgents hiding in the Council's fringe systems. While peace talks faltered, the Vengeance Fleet remained on high alert. Leona understood that the war was far from over. It had simply moved into a new, deadlier phase. Her intelligence officers intercepted a chilling report. A secret Council fleet, equipped with experimental war technology, was assembling near the Yao Abyssal Rift, a volatile nebula on the edge of known space. Their mission: to crush Earth's colonies and send a final warning. Leona convened an emergency strategy session. "We cannot allow this fleet to reach our colonies," she said, her voice steel. "If they destroy Titan and Mars, humanity's future dies with them." Major Tarek, her battle-hardened advisor, proposed a daring plan. "We strike first. Use stealth to disrupt their assembly, destroy key vessels before they can form a coherent force. The room was silent. The risk was immense. As the Vengeance fleet prepared for the offensive, Leona reached out once more to her allies within the Council, those still committed to peace. Ambassador Seller arranged a clandestine meeting on Vrothi, Prime, away from prying eyes and political intrigue. There are those within the Council who wish to end this cycle of violence, Sailor whispered. But we must act swiftly and decisively. Leona nodded. Then we take the fight to them. Together. Under the cover of darkness, a combined force of human and Vrothi special operatives infiltrated the Abyssal Rift's perimeter. The nebula's swirling clouds provided perfect cover as they launched a series of surgical strikes on enemy shipyards and supply depots. Explosions rippled through hidden docks, crippling the secret fleet before it could fully mobilize. But victory came at a cost. During the operation, Leona's closest friend and trusted pilot, Commander Rhea Dalen, was gravely wounded in a desperate dogfight with enemy fighters. On the medbay of the Valor, Leona held Rhea's hand, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her heart. "You fought for all of us," Leona whispered. "Rest now. The fight will go on." News of the attack spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The extremist factions' plans were exposed and their influence waned rapidly. Many Council worlds withdrew support, seeking peace before total collapse. But the cost of war was etched deep into humanity's soul. The scars of betrayal, bloodshed, and sacrifice would not fade easily. In a final confrontation, Leona addressed the Council once more. "We have endured betrayal and war," she said, her voice resolute. "But from the ashes, a new dawn rises. Let this be the reckoning, for justice, for truth, for peace." The chamber erupted in cautious applause. Yet, as the applause faded, a quiet warning echoed in Leona's mind. The galaxy was vast, and its darkness deep. The fight for humanity's place among the stars was far from over. The reckoning was just beginning. The war had torn the galaxy asunder. The betrayal of humanity by the Galactic Council had unleashed a conflict that threatened to consume entire star systems. But now, after fire and blood, after loss and sacrifice, the scales were tipping. Luna Station buzzed with activity. Diplomats, soldiers, scientists, and survivors moved through its corridors, each carrying the weight of the past and the hope for what was to come. Admiral Leona Rourke stood once again before the vast panoramic window overlooking Earth. The blue and green marble spun silently beneath the stars, a reminder of all they fought to protect. The historic peace treaty had just been signed. The Galactic Council, now a fragile coalition of reconciled races, recognized humanity's sovereignty and its vital role in galactic affairs. The extremist faction was dismantled, its leaders imprisoned or exiled. Chancellor Tiervac and Ambassador Selar stood beside Leona during the ceremony, their expressions reflecting cautious optimism. "This is more than a treaty," Leona said, softly. "It's a promise to never forget, to never betray again." But the scars ran deep. The wounds of war would not heal overnight. Humanity's colonies, once vibrant with hope, bore the marks of relentless attacks. Cities on Mars lay in ruins. Titan's fragile habitats struggled to recover. Yet, in the aftermath, a new spirit emerged. A drive to rebuild stronger, smarter, and united. Leona's gaze shifted to the fleet assembled in Luna's orbit, a symbol of resilience and power. The Vengeance fleet, battle-tested and battle-hardened, stood ready to defend Earth and its interests. But it was no longer a tool of vengeance, it was a shield for peace. In the council chambers, new leadership emerged. Representatives from Earth took their seats with renewed purpose, pushing for reforms that emphasized transparency, justice, and cooperation. "Humanity's fight has shown us all the cost of division," Chancellor Tiervac addressed the council. "Let this new dawn be one of unity." Yet, as the galaxy embraced this fragile peace, a new challenge loomed. Explorers in the distant reaches of known space detected a mysterious signal. an ancient beacon pulsing from a forgotten star system beyond the abyssal rift. Scientists speculated it was not natural, a remnant of a civilization long lost or a warning waiting to be uncovered. Leona's eyes narrowed. The war may be over, but the galaxy still holds secrets and dangers. In her private quarters, Leona reflected on the journey, from betrayal to victory, from darkness to dawn. Her thoughts drifted to Commander Rhea Dalen, recovering slowly, but alive. The fight had forged them into something new, not just survivors, but pioneers. As Earth turned beneath the stars, humanity prepared to step boldly into the vast unknown. The Galactic Council would never be the same, and neither would humanity. No longer victims of betrayal, they were architects of their destiny, ready to claim their place among the stars.